Okay, welcome back everyone. We are still here in the place that I was asking you guys about in the last video. And so I'm going to give a slightly more elaborate tour. We're down, at that time I was up in the, I don't know, a little bit up on the hillside, whereas now I am down in the city center of the capital of this wonderful place. So we're going to see if I can get you to recognize it just before I tell you what it is. In case anyone didn't guess last time, you can go and take an opportunity to see what is what here. So we have this beautiful church right here. We have up on the hill right over there, this nice castle. And yeah, it's hard to see, but I guess there are some nice mountains over there. And so the answer is, we are in the beautiful country of Liechtenstein. Okay, so for those who have not been here, this is probably one of the, one of the best places in the world to live by certain measures. It doesn't end up on various lists. And of course it's small, right? So kind of sleepy, not that much going on. However, richest country in the world as far as GDP per capita goes. It is really pretty, really clean, really safe. Quite spacious compared to a lot of places. So a lot of places in Europe I find are not very spacious. This does not feel crowded, which is nice. I like Liechtenstein quite a bit. The tax system here is also meaningfully better than you get in Switzerland. So for instance, the corporate tax rate is 12.5%. The personal tax rate is a top tax rate of 8%. Then you have municipal tax, brings you up. It depends on which municipality you're into, but a maximum of, it's around 22.4, 22.8%. Anyway, so pretty reasonable. On top of this, they do not tax capital gains in most cases, minus real estate in the area. VAT here is 7%, so quite a bit lower than you would get in general EU countries. The passport here is really outstanding. It gives access to pretty much everything you would want except for maybe China. So that's excellent. It's not that well connected because there's no airport, there's no train station. You have to go basically to Zurich or come to somewhere else. That being said, fairly quick drive. And yeah, so those things are quite nice. The banking system here, which is one of the common reasons, probably the most common reasons somebody would deal with Liechtenstein if they don't live here, is for the banking. The banking here, in my experience, is okay. So famously there's Bank Frick, which is a crypto-friendly bank, but it's really expensive and kind of restrictive in a certain set of areas. There's something called LGT bank. There's a bunch of different banks here. There's either Swiss banks like EFG, etc. But then there's also a few specifically Liechtenstein banks. And I mean, you're talking about quite a safe, secure, stable financial system. It's fairly expensive in general across the board in Liechtenstein. So everything from cost of living to what it is you're dealing with in terms of people's, like the cost of services for forming companies, the cost of services for foundations. You can have a Liechtenstein foundation here, which is a pretty good entity. It's a common place for holding companies. There's no CFC rules, so that's good. They do have some limitations on their participation exemption. So you have a participation exemption, but only if the participation, meaning the subsidiary companies, etc., are subject to a tax rate of at least half of Liechtenstein's, so 6.25%. And so that's another one that is in there. It is a blacklisted jurisdiction for stuff like Portugal, so it's not as appealing as, say, Andorra and some of these other places in that regard. Yeah, I think all around very nice place, very peaceful and quiet. I would seriously consider being here. So let's talk about residency. This is an outrageously difficult place to get residency and an outrageously difficult place to get citizenship. So they have actually a cap. I think it's 83 people a year who they give residency to. It's like 50, whatever it is, 57 or something. who can get it as the right to work here, and then 16 per year who are allowed to get it who don't work here. So extremely small number. In addition to this, getting the passport is incredibly difficult. It's 30 years of residency. Technically, after 10 years, you can petition your community to basically like say, hey, listen, they think you should get it. That's pretty high. Now, if you're married to someone, then each year of marriage counts as 2 years. So technically, married to a Liechtenstein citizen, if you live here for 5 years continuously, you could get your community then to try and get you in, but it could be up to 15 years if you do the full 30. For every year under the age of 20 that you live here, that counts for 2 years as well. So you can get it in some reasonable period of time. But yeah, quite challenging to get both residency and citizenship here. Not impossible. I know some people here who have residency. Some friends of mine have lived here for quite a few years and really like it. I think it's great. So yeah, for the right person, I think it's a really cool option. If you could do it, to me, it's way more attractive than Switzerland because the tax regime is just so much better, inordinately better. The passport is really excellent. So if you were thinking about some place to say, come and set yourself up, and you wanted to do so, and if you could make it work here, which again is much more difficult than a lot of places, I think it would be worth it. I think this is like a really good place. There are no borders going in and out of from Liechtenstein to Switzerland. You basically cross a river and that's it. And then in terms of Switzerland, of course, is part of Schengen, and so you could go from some other part of Europe without crossing into. You could go from, say, Germany into Switzerland, into Liechtenstein, no problems, and so pretty free travel in that regard. And yeah, so aside from, I would say that the cost of housing here is not outrageous. It's not super expensive. It's not super cheap either, but not outrageously pricey. Obviously, I'm in here and it's June, so the weather's nice right now. In the evenings, it will get a little chillier, but not too terrible. This is a really common place to come for skiing during the winter, so I think to come up and enjoy it for the summer, for just it's a beautiful place to be, relax, quiet, peaceful, or to be here for skiing in the winter. Both are, I think, really nice opportunities. Yeah, it's a place that I don't hear people talk about much at all, but actually as a place to form holding companies, it's pretty interesting. As a place for banking, it's probably like not quite as good as Switzerland, I would say, just because of kind of the scale of Swiss banks, etc. But still a decent place to consider, and sometimes a little bit easier acceptance criteria than some of the Swiss banks. Or as a place for foundations, really good, very excellent. And then as a place to live, I mean, if you can come and live here, or if you can get some special connection to get citizenship, it is a principality, and the prince has a lot of power here. And so because of that, in theory, anything can be granted. So hopefully you will come and check it out at some point in time. I think I'm always a fan of checking out every place you can, but this is one that people don't check out and is definitely worth it. So let me know what you think, put it in the comments below, and I will see you guys on the next video.